Hello everyone, welcome into another Frodo stream, and of course my camera is auto-focusing on the wrong thing again. Let's try that again. For some reason it sometimes does that even though I have autofocus switched off. Welcome in. I had a bit of a problem with preparing today. Why is my camera acting up still? Let's try that old trick. Okay, that looks a bit better at least. Not perfect. Well, you see me, so it can't be perfect, but at least better than it was. Welcome in. I had a bit of problem preparing for today because of work issues, and there is still a risk that there will be work issues coming up, but we'll see how that goes. But I was able to at least do something for today, and today we're gonna have a look at Pac-Man. I know, Curtis, the grey is coming back in at the front at least. It's not so visible on the top and on the back, but the front it's coming back in. I know. No need to duck nor run. And let's be honest, at our age we really don't want to run, Curtis. How are you doing, Curtis? Hi, Pajaco. How are you doing? Welcome in. We knew the blue would at some point disappear, of course. But yes, today we're gonna have a look at... yeah, well, that's your problem, Curtis. Sorry, that's mean. I had a pretty tough day, well, a few tough days at work myself, so... I hope it's not too bad for you today, Curtis. Yeah, today we're gonna have a look at Pac-Man. And I prepared a bit. We have basically, of course, the arcade version of Pac-Man, which is the classic. And then we have 15 different official conversions. The ones that are able to run on the MiSTer FPGA. Varying from the mediocre to the actually quite good versions at some points, as you will see. You also notice that there are basically two companies that made official conversions. There are the Atari versions and there are the Namco versions that Namco made themselves, because Namco, of course, was the original maker of Pac-Man. And they went for quite different ways of converting, as you will see during the stream. But, of course, I have to also make sure I see my MiSTer screen. And we will start... Oh, I am using a new, we call it capture card, so we'll see how well that works. So far it seems to be okay, but we'll have to see what happens. No, I don't have any transcodes. I'm only doing official conversions. I know I could do a transcode, but those aren't official, you know? Yeah. Now we start with Pac-Man, and I have here the Midway version. There's not that much difference between the Midway and the Namco version. It's just that Midway was the distributor in the US. And I hope we get audio. Let me check. And no, of course we don't get audio. Ah, yes, we do. Okay, it's just there it is. It's a bit late, but that's more because of the way capturing works. I'm not the best ever player at Pac-Man, far from it, but I do enjoy a game of Pac-Man. Yeah, the ColecoVision was never officially... Hi Anna, I know, that's okay, feel free to lurk, I'm happy with lurkers. I hope you're doing okay, Anna, today. But no, we do have an Intellivision version, for instance, and of course everyone's favorite, between quotes, Atari 2600. But we'll start with the official arcade version. Just to remind everyone what it is supposed to look like. because of the way I stream, I get the audio way late, so yeah, I start really bad. I only now hear that I died, so it's really a bit late. Thanks for the following King Wagman. I hope the audio isn't too loud. It sounds a bit loud. The arcade version comes through pretty loud, I noticed. So I just thought back. Yeah, thank you for the follow, King Wagman. Let's see if we can complete this. Yes, we can. Indeed, you can. The very original version. I know. Yep. Okay, this was a very bad set. I'll give myself 2 more credits. As mentioned, I'm not the best player ever. I can get through 1 or 2 levels usually, but possibly a bit more. But then again, people who follow me know that they shouldn't be at my channel for best play. They are here to, well, somewhat mediocre play, combined with just as bad talk. And every now and again I actually do something that makes sense. Not too often, of course, because, you know, people might get used to it and that's not a good thing. So I'm pretty sure just about anyone in here has played some version of Pac-Man in the past. Which is why I didn't explain at all what the game is about, because I'm sure everyone understands that already. It's about getting irritated with ghosts that sometimes go faster than you. And making stupid mistakes like that. I do hope the audio for you guys is not as much out of sync as it is for me. In my case, it's probably because of using the Bluetooth headset. For some reason, sometimes that really runs out of sync. Often it doesn't, but sometimes it does. Okay, thank you. I'm used to it, so in games like this I don't care too much about the sound. Ah, and there's a cloister to catch. For those that might be interested. Oh, and for those that are subscribers to this channel, you might notice that there is now a 4th ghost available as a what do you call it? As an emote. So the complete set is now available as emotes for my tier 1 subscribers. Oops, that was stupid. Hopefully this works as I remember it. Yes, it does. I don't know the exact patterns, but there are some things I do remember about how the game works. And now I'm in trouble, I think. Now I can just make this. As mentioned, I can get through a few levels usually. But I'm not one of those players that knows all the patterns by heart, and like this, for instance, wouldn't happen to them. Oops, in the wrong direction there, but thankfully it worked out okay. Does this? Yes. Just. It helps to remember that Portal is faster for Pac-Man than for any of the ghosts, even the fastest of the ghosts. And that was stupid. But at least I got a bit further than the first try. I'll give it one more try. But yes, I think everyone in this channel will have played Pac-Man, even the younger people. I've never been able to do that, no. I know about the trick, but I cannot do it. Yeah, I've tried it in the past, but I've given up on it, because I know I cannot do it. This kind of interesting to look back at this game. Oops, this is not good. And realizing that this was made back in the day with the idea that there needed to be games. Yes, Sax, indeed they haven't. Welcome in, Sax. This game was made basically because they needed a game that would also be attractive to female players. That was why Pac-Man was thought up, and well, turned out it wasn't just female players that liked it. But yeah, you got Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde available there. Of course, in a bit different order than Sax put them, but that's okay. But yeah, that was the original arcade version. What I will do is I want to go first through the versions as made for home computers. There you go, Sax. There are a number of versions I have, and I'll go through them in the order I put them on the list here, because they aren't exactly in alphabetical order. So we start with the Commodore VIC-20. Now this is a conversion made by... I need to go into this one. Okay, Sax, have a good look and nap, and hope to see you soon. At the brewery, oh boy, that could be dangerous, breweries. Have a good look and enjoy the brewery later, Sax, and see you soon. VIC-20 is a CRT, yes, and we're of course looking for Pac-Man. I have to make sure to use the right one. It's this one. Now, as you see, this is an Atari conversion, and Atari conversions have certain things in common. One of them is that they're usually widescreen, so instead of having a high maze, they have a wide maze. And of course on the VIC-20 they have a limited resolution. And I think the audio on this one is a bit lower than on the arcade version. Hey, 48K RAM! Yeah, I needed to do something. There we go, yes. My audio, of course, is completely out of sync again. But yeah, this is an Atari conversion for the VIC-20. And yeah, my audio is one big disaster today. For me, at least. I hope it's better for you guys. I don't know, to be honest. I just know this is the official Atari conversion. And I'm not the biggest fan of the various Atari conversions, and you will see in a bit why. Oh boy. Well, we'll die for a moment. Hello, Miss DK and Raiders, welcome in. Thank you for your raid. Let's have a look what you were doing, Miss DK. You were also playing retro. Which games were you doing? Well, I lower my volume a bit, because otherwise I will go deaf. What were you playing, Miss DK, and how was your stream? Hey, Kieros, welcome back. Ah, on the SNES, okay. New games or older games, Miss DK? I see some familiar names. For those who don't know me, I'm Frodo NL, Frodo Frank. I'm a Dutch, I still want to say retro streamer. I'm growing old, but no, I'm a variety streamer nowadays. On Thursdays and Saturdays I stream retro. On Sundays I do community streams, which often means Jackbox Party, but first Sunday of the month will be golf with your friends. And on Tuesdays I stream from the Nintendo Switch, which at the moment still means Pokemon Sword, and we will see what it will mean in the future. Let's have a look. Ghouls and Ghosts, Donkey Kong Country, Yoshi's Island, and Zelda A Link to the Past. Yeah, Ghouls and Ghosts, and also its pre-game, was it Ghosts and Goblins, are a nightmare. I totally agree. Always have been. The others, while not my favorite games, are quite good, yes. Well, the Ghouls and Ghosts has always been a nightmare. I'm today looking at Pac-Man. We already had a look at the arcade version. And we were, when you came in, looking at the VIC-20 version. We are looking at official versions, so official conversions. Most of them were done by Atari, and some were done by Namco themselves. And as mentioned, this is the VIC-20 version. What basically all the Atari conversions have in common is that the screen is completely the other way around. The map is just very different. And of course we will later also see the Atari 2600 version, which is just plain bad. Because they decided they wanted to do that quickly and made a mess of it. But this is also not the best one. Now of course they can't really help the low resolution of the VIC-20. That's something you can't work around, but there should have been better options available, even on the VIC-20. I have been using Raspberry Pis, but at the moment I basically stream just about everything from my MiSTer FPGA. Yeah, just about anything is better than the 2600 Keros. Okay, yeah. That wouldn't surprise me, Pajaco. Jelly Monsters was a lot better, anyway. Thank you for the follow, K Indiana. The Pi can be more flexible. Of course, the Pi, you can do more things than just emulation. Plus, the Pi can also do some of the somewhat newer consoles to some degree. But when it comes to exact copies of the original machines and timing and just ease of use, hardly anything can beat the MiSTer. It's as close as you can get to having real hardware without having the real hardware, while still having ease of use of selecting files, etc., without having to switch around with cartridges and such. I'm not saying it's perfect, nothing is perfect, but it's pretty damn good. I wouldn't want. I am glad I got it. I was originally gonna get a Spectrum Next, but the problem was that at the moment when I would have been able to get it, they didn't have a Kickstarter going. So I ended up getting the MiSTer, and only a few months later they came with the second Spectrum Next. And at first I was a bit disappointed, but nowadays I can actually run the Spectrum Next core on the MiSTer, and I don't feel I'm missing anything. I only have more things. The only thing you're missing from the Spectrum Next, for instance, is the keyboard. That's a shame, but with all the other things that this thing can do, I'm very happy with it. Exactly, so you can do more with this one. Yeah, after the VIC-20, we will go to the Commodore. We say with Commodore, but the C64. No worries, that's what we like to do. It's and I see the C64 is also a cartridge version, so that's nice and easy. As you can see, I can just select here. It should be in here, Pac-Man. Yeah, there we go. That was a list of the home computers, indeed, that you can, well, emulate is not the right word, but that you can simulate, let's put it that way. Plus there are the consoles too. You will see a number of them come by in a bit. One player game, yes. Now you see that the resolution on the C64 is a bit better. The colors, of course, yes. The one thing with C64 always has been a problem with joystick ports to use. Once again, this is an Atari conversion, so you get a weird looking screen a bit, but well, I guess they thought they had to use the screen as efficient as possible. But once again, this is quite playable. Why did I go in there when I want to do this? I'm using a simple USB connected controller in this case. A what's it called? 8-bit do. What is it? SN30 Pro, and that works perfectly for most consoles, combined with a keyboard, of course. Yeah, I'll share the link in a bit, Pajaco, because I, of course, have that link too. No surprise there. Of course, the C64, as always, known for its very irritating color scheme. Way too brown or too green. Well, they made a choice. At least it's not extremely brown or green, but it's a bit dull. And that's the problem I always had with the C64. The colors are just dull. I'm used to Sinclair ZX Spectrum, where the colors are very bright, really, which, well, as you can see, they aren't in this one. Anything but bright. We will actually see the Spectrum version in a bit too, because that's also the Spectrum also got an official version, also by Atari Soft. Yeah, simulation is the closest word. It's basically what you do on MiSTer is that the chip on it, the FPGA, is reprogrammed to be the original hardware. Of course, there are some limits to that, but most of it is done in that chip. A re-implementation, yeah. I don't have a problem with calling it emulation, because in the end it is emulation, just at the hardware level, but it leads to some confusion for some people if you say emulation, because they think of something different. Emulation really means you have a another operating system or another system running on which you emulate the hardware. So you are dependent on other software to make things work. Well, in this case, the only software that's used basically is used to put the code in the chip. So you have a bit of Linux that's used to put code in the chip and to emulate, for instance, the floppy drives, so that you can use disk images, etc. Oops, that was a mistake. But yes, the MiSTer is my favorite purchase of the last few years. Because I have some original hardware, especially Sinclair ZX Spectrums. I have 4 different models, plus Timex Sinclair 2068. But ever since I have the MiSTer, I haven't taken out the original hardware anymore, really. Only to test something quickly, but apart from that, I basically always use the MiSTer. It's just the ease of use is so much bigger. Ah, that was stupid. Oh yes. Now of course at this moment I'm playing a cartridge game, so that's easy enough on the C64 or any, on any system of course. While on, but if I use a disk drive, you will have to know the commands. And with some that's easier than with others. I'm still hearing the sound from the game in my headset, so I'm guessing my Bluetooth is a bit slow today. That sometimes happens. Oh well. I'll do one more try on this version. And then we go on to the Apple II. Quite a different system, of course. Also a bit older than even the VIC-20 and especially the C64. That I have late sound has nothing to do, of course, with the MiSTer. That's purely my audio setup. Probably something wrong with the setting. That would probably be resolved if I reconnected my Bluetooth set, but not really. For most systems they are replaced with other keys. The only thing is to remember which ones are used, of course. But if you use a system enough, you know that. For instance, on the Atari 8-bit, I know that I need to press F10 for some stuff, and then F8 to disable basic on boot, stuff like that. You learn that after a while. Yeah, they are basically mapped, plus you can remap a lot. For instance, for the Intellivision that I'm doing later on, you can remap a lot of buttons to your controller. I have a Super Famicom controller that has a number key, so I could remap to that. Now in this case, the game that we will be doing, I only need to use the one, so I can use the one on the keyboard to start the game. But usually I remap them, and that's easy enough to do. There's a simple setting for that in the menus. Welcome, Antil. How are you doing? How is work treating you today? Yeah, I also use a 3D printed case that I printed myself. And I actually also 3D printed a case for one of my friends a while ago. It's very useful. You can also get pre-made cases. No, I do not use a wedge case. I use a simple block case. I am considering making a wedge case because it might make it easier with the keyboard. But for now I just use a cordless keyboard with the Logitech. But yeah, that wedge case is quite nice actually, and I'm seriously considering doing that. Oh, come on, grab that last dot, Frodo. As I mentioned, I'm not the best Pac-Man player, but I do love Pac-Man. Well, I guess that's clear from the fact that I use the ghost as my subscriber emotes. Nope. Why do I hear that with an Austrian accent, Teal? I'll be back. Sounds somewhat threatening. Go. I'm not one to go for the high scores or etc. in this. I tend to just try and get through as many maps as possible. Of course, that's quite different when I play Pac-Man 99, which I do play on my MiSTer, or on my MiSTer, on my Switch. But that's quite a different game from this, of course. Notice that Atari made a slight mistake here in the bonuses. They repeated one of the bonuses, as you can see at the bottom. And as to those bonuses, it was earlier. Yeah, at least they come out, but the bot isn't there. Okay, it's Nidorino. So you can catch it, that would work. But I will be resetting the bot in a bit. Because it might be that the professor got lost on its way back here. We'll wait for this to complete so I can reset the bot. And see if we can get the professor back in. Nope, it's flat. Okay, let's see what happens if we try and get the bot back in. It's a bit of work. I like that Pokemon thing, but every now and again it doesn't work correctly. See, there the professor comes back in. Now we have to wait for a bit for the commands, for the configuration to go out. We wait and wait. There we go. And we show it back up. And now it should also work to do Super Lure. There we go. It works again. Okay, that was the C64 version. From there, as I said, we will go to the Apple II. Now I got 2 cores. I will go with this one. Because I tested that earlier today and it worked. In this case, we have to go for a Dio. As mentioned, I was a bit busy with work today, so I had to... There you go, Keros. It goes to Denmark today. Yeah, we play with Josie. I have to use the right keyboard, of course. Oh. I need to set this. Give me a moment, because that looks a bit better at least. Color doesn't look perfect on an old Apple II. Okay, was it space? Yes, we have 1 player. A few places where I had to get it online. Oh yeah, I was gonna send the link in a bit. Remind me of that, because I'm forgetful at times. As you see, the Apple II version, even though it's also an Atari conversion, I think. Yes. But they actually made the screen portrait, as it should be. Very surprising for Atari, because on just about any other system they didn't. Now there is sound with it, but I'm not hearing it yet. I'm assuming you are hearing it, because it looks like there's sound coming from the MiSTer. Sound is really behind on my thing. I may have to change something in a moment, because this is getting a bit too irritating by now. Can I? Almost did it. It's an online thing. I have to warn you though that the hardware for it, because it's the DE10 Nano is the main FPGA board, has gotten a bit more expensive. Okay, I'm gonna try if I can get this to force it back so I hear audio a bit in time. That may give me... I may have to work about this. Let's see. Okay, looks okay. Nope. I'm gonna try a different headset, see if I get better. Thank you for the follow, Pixel Shooter. I'm gonna try a different headset, a corded headset, see if that makes the audio better for me. I hope it comes out to the right one. Let me see. Might still be the same. We'll see. No, it's something weird going on with OBS that it's sending me the audio late. Well, as long as you have the right audio, that's most important. I like this Apple II version. It's given the age of the system, they did a pretty good version here. I use USB storage for the IBM PC core. The rest I run from SD at the moment. I have a 256 gigabyte SD in there. I had a 500, but there are some issues with that at the moment, so I have to recheck that. So I have a external SSD attached to for the AO 486. I went for SSD because SSD just lasts longer. It's meant to last longer than a flash drive, and given the number of access to it, it just felt more logical to go for an SSD. It's of course more expensive, but a flash drive would work too, of course. It's they are quick enough nowadays to be useful, and you can find large ones. That was bad. You can find large ones these days. Because I'm trying to think which SSD I have attached here now. It is a My Passport. You never print that on here. I think it's a 500 gig that I have attached nowadays, or 1 terabyte, one of the two. But yes, the Apple II version. Okay, oh yeah, I was gonna give you the link to the wiki with all the info about the MiSTer FPGA. No, this is not the one I was looking for. That's the forum. Or is it this one? No, that's the forum. This is the one. The GitHub wiki, that's the one. I think that's the right one, yes. It's a wiki with all the info, and it also includes all the links to for all the info about the various cores that's available. That's the official cores that are available. There are also some cores that are not managed through there. I, for instance, have a Coco core, a Coco 3 core that is not on there because that's done through a separate Patreon thing. But most cores you will find on there. Of course, you still have to provide your own games, etc. But those are, in general, relatively easy to find. A lot of them can be found through... This was the Apple II version, yeah. Have you never seen it, Curtis? I'll play one more game because it's pretty good actually. I will actually change to the way most of us played it back in the day on the Apple II. Because most of it didn't have a color display then. I never had an Apple II myself, but a cousin of mine had one, so I did play that one on there. Most of us also didn't have the official box, of course. To us, most games came without a manual back in the days. Yeah, well, that was in schools, but at home we couldn't afford the color monitors because they were a little bit more expensive. Now, of course, the Apple II was expensive anyway. But this is how I played it at my cousin's Apple II compatible computer because he didn't have an official Apple II. That was bad. Actually, he didn't have a green, he had an amber screen, this one. As I had for my IBM PC compatible later on. I don't remember which one he had. It was some European clone. There was a European clone that was available for a bit, and then Apple basically forced them to stop making it. I don't remember which one it was. Euro something, I think, but I don't remember the official name, the original name. It was a pretty good clone, actually. It was almost exactly an Apple compatible. Next on the list, we go actually to the IBM PC, and some of you who have been around when I did my Frogger stream will remember that I had to set all kinds of things to make sure that the IBM PC core wasn't too fast, because this is a 486 core, and Irata, welcome in. If you look at here, it runs at 90 megahertz, supposedly, with L1 cache, with L2 cache, with a lot of RAM. The Frogger version, that official Frogger version, wasn't able to run on that, so I had to slow it down as much as possible. That's not the case with this Pac-Man Pac-Man game. Whatever you can say about it, and I cannot do this on joystick because the joystick isn't precise enough. Other keyboard, Frodo. How you doing, Rata? But this version actually, it's a CTA version, of course. But as you can see, it actually runs at the correct speed, even on the 486, which is way better programmed than the Frogger version was. I had to change nothing, and we all know that this 486 at 90 megahertz was not available when this game came out. But the speed is just correct. Okay, the graphics look bad, but that's CTA for you. But yeah, they actually did everything correct in this with the programming, which is very impressive. Because a lot of games back in the day even didn't work well when you had a turbo PC at 8 megahertz. As I did, but thankfully mine could be switched back to 4.772. I hear a Pokemon coming out. A Poliwrath. Yeah, mine originally had an 8088, processor, but I replaced it with the V20. I must say I like the color palette they chose here. They didn't go for the pink and green palette. They went for something a bit different, and while not perfect, of course, it's not what you would expect from Pac-Man. It works for this game. For those who are not used to the old systems, CGA only allowed you 4 colors on the screen, so they did a decent enough job on this. And I see the Polaroid got away. Yeah, Chromecast is nice when you want to watch some stuff on your TV. I have one too. I've been using it for 2 years. I actually have a second one. I had one and I changed to a newer version, got the older version to my dad, who very much enjoyed it then. Yes, I like this version of Pac-Man. It's pretty decent for what we're looking at. Simple IBM PC with CGA graphics. It's a lot better than the Atari 2600 version. Now, of course, you can't compare that hardware. While the CGA graphics weren't perfect either, but it was a lot better than what 2600 had to offer. But even so, the 2600 version was just brought out way too quick. They just didn't want to wait because they were too afraid of what other companies might do. Well, they were of course right, even though other companies didn't bring official versions. There were some versions out already before they had the 2600 version out for other hardware. So how are you liking your Chromecast, Rata? I'm guessing you got a newer version than I have. Hey Chris, welcome in. We will actually have a look at the NES version too, because the version originally came out for the Famicom, made by brought out by Namco. Then they allowed Tengen to bring out a version for the NES, but Tengen was a Atari company. And there were some issues with Nintendo wanted to keep control over the quality of games on their system. And then Tengen brought out a version in a black cartridge at some point, which was not officially supported by Nintendo, but was basically the same version as the NES. Now, when it comes to home computers, the next one is a other classic system. from 1979, the original one, and then this version, the 99.4A. I have to add a bit of protein because I notice I'm getting a bit dizzy. But yes, 99.4A came out in, I think, 1982. The 99/4 came out in 1979. Yes, exactly, Chris. And they are basically exactly the same game with just different start screens. So we will only be looking at one version of that one. But yes, TI 99.4A, another classic system. There's Pac-Man. Part 1 is your C. Part 2 is your D bin. Two is Pac-Man. Once again, as you can see, an Atari Conversion. And once again, it's a widescreen version, not a portrait version. I'm not quite sure about the audio levels. They probably need to be a bit higher on this one, because the Discord is a bit less loud. But yeah, for a 1979-1982 computer, this is actually a pretty decent version once again. Atari did some decent conversions and did some less good conversions. The VIC-20 version was a bit less good. And I noticed I was a bit late with eating again, so if I seem a bit sweaty, that's just because of a lack of protein. I forgot to keep my standard rhythm up with eating. But this is not a bad version actually. As you see though, they had a bit of an issue once again with graphic palette. So some colors are a bit close together. The pink and the red version are almost the same, but there are slight differences if you... The pink and the orange in this case. Red and the orange. I can't think of colors right now. But yeah, this version works pretty decent. Not spectacular, but a lot better than some versions. I like this better than the PC version, for instance, that we just looked at. But the Apple IIe version was a lot better, I felt. I honestly don't know why they decided to go for the for this mode, for this graphics on a lot of systems, while on the Apple IIe they went for a portrait version. I'm guessing they had a different team of people working on that conversion, of course, but... But yeah, the TI-99/4A was a surprisingly good system for its age. Where can I avoid them? This way, maybe. Yes. This is the TI-99/4A. Texas Instruments. I will have to do something about sweating. I was a bit late with eating there. For those who don't know, 5 years ago I had a gastric bypass. And ever since then I have to make sure to get protein in about once every 2 hours. This is Texas Instruments TI-99/4A Karus. The TI-99/4 was a system from 1979 and the 4A updated version was from 1982. I actually played a lot on this system. First at stores in Maastricht where I lived, V&D as it was called then. Had a model in the store and we were so allowed to type on them a lot, so I typed in a lot of listings on those systems. And a friend of mine actually got one of these, a school friend of mine, Patrick. That's all I gave you of the name. I'm not, of course, doxing people like that, but... And he had a TI-99/4A and we played quite a bit on it. The only issue I had with that system was that it built in BASIC didn't have a poke or P command nor any way else to enter your own machine code. If you wanted to do anything in assembly or machine code, you had to get the extended BASIC, which was pretty pricey. That whole computer was pretty pricey actually, especially compared to what I was used to, like the ZX Spectrum or the Timex Sinclair 1000. But with the extended BASIC, it was a quite nice machine. Well, as you can see, it had it ran pretty decent. And there's a Pokemon coming out, I hear. But I don't see it because I forgot to re-enable view. There we go. A Charmeleon, okay, nice one. After this game, I'm actually gonna put in a little break in which I have to go to the bathroom. Ah, this is funny. I've seen this happen before. At the moment, you will see that not the professor, but my own name is giving you the info about the Pokemon. That sometimes does happen. Doesn't make any difference. By the way, nice catcher, Anna. I just couldn't make that. Yeah, those were funny days back then with the home computers. Every computer, of course, had its own, completely own system, although most of them were programmable in a version of BASIC. But it also meant that when we went to computer stores or the large department stores, we were often allowed to use them, to type on them. Ah, Wata, you notice it. Yes, I do have actually 2 versions of Monopoly. One American, and I have Pac-Man Monopoly. And Pac-Man Monopoly, while it's still a very boring game, as every Monopoly game is, because let's be honest, Monopoly is way too much a game of chance. But the one nice thing about that game is it comes with something extra. At certain situations, I must say I haven't played it yet, really, because, well, first of all, we had the COVID situation going, plus I don't have that many people to play live with anyway. But it comes with a small version of Pac-Man that you can actually play in certain rounds for coins. And your bank is also in that Pac-Man game, basically. I tried the Pac-Man game quickly and it seemed to work okay, so... But it's more of a gimmick than anything else. For me it was just because I love Pac-Man, I wanted it. And because I love board games, even though Monopoly is probably one of my least favorite board games. Can I get away? Yes. That's a quite good game, although I prefer a bit different game. I quite often like to play games like, what do you call it? Oh, come on. Ticket to Ride. I have nearly all the different versions of that. I own nearly all the different versions. There's 2 or 3 boards I don't have, and the Merklin set I don't have. But that's more my type of game, but Betrayal is quite good too, I agree. Whoa, I actually got through there. One of the things I like about the MiSTer with a controller is that as long as the system doesn't specifically need a analog controller, I can actually use my both my analog stick and my D-pad on this controller as a joystick here. Because for some games it's just easier to have a stick, and for some games it's just easier to have a D-pad. I actually bought it because someone in the stream showed it to me too. Or was it someone in the stream? Yeah, it was someone in the stream that showed it. And I thought, yeah, I need to have it too. No, it wasn't in the stream. It was in the Discord server. Yeah. Yeah, it's not the most expensive game. I'll actually show it a bit closer. I, of course, on purpose showed it today because I was doing Pac-Man. Let me see. So yeah, the basic box, of course, shows you a bit of a Monopoly thing. Now, if I open it up, if it wants to open, it's an official one, so this is what the inside of the box looks like. It's basically a lid in a box there with the stuff itself in there. You see that a bit higher probably. So there are your pieces are either Pac-Man, and you have a ghost that you go against at some points, and there are different Pac-Man with different color ground parts, and then there is the little arcade game. And I'll show it to you. I'm not going to play it, but yeah, it's a little arcade game that is actually playable. So, and you use a coin, basically everyone gets their own coin, which is shaped like this, to and they have different settings. So based on this one I was looking for, which is used to make sure that your score is updated, etc. So it's a nice set. It's simple, but it works as far as I can tell. But as I said, I haven't really played it yet. I've only basically taken it out to look at it. I'll actually show you. While I have it open, might as well show you the board. See if I can. So yeah, your Monopoly board, and it has. It doesn't have streets as such. It has level 1, level 2 are brown, level 3 and 4 are the light blue, etc. And then you have power palette, you have maze and power up. That all come by. So it's all built around Pac-Man. And as I said, it was more a thing that I just... Oh, I accidentally put in a super lure. Oh well. It was more something that I just like to have for the show. Yep, but not all of them are official. But yeah, this is... I like the fact that it was different because it includes a little game, etc. That's something you don't see in other versions usually. So it was different, and as mentioned, I like Pac-Man, so why not? Okay, did I go for the right one? Ah, yes. We were looking at, we were done with the TI-9994A. Next up is, well, my favorite home computer, of course, of all time, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. That too has a official version. Ah, what I call that. Where are you at now? 42. You're going quick, Rata. I'll start this, but I will have to go... as you can see, it's an official version. And I'll load it. And I'll have to go for a short bathroom break. A drowsy, okay. I'll be right back, guys. Yep, I noticed that the volume was a bit higher than you would want it to be. Okay, I'm back. Ah, Youthbug, welcome in. Didn't know you were here. Yeah, I hope the volume is better this way. Actually, I will have to check. Cursor keys. Yeah. Okay, well, as mentioned, sorry about that. This is the ZX Spectrum version. Okay, why is it not working? Ah, okay. It doesn't use cursor keys. Well, it's just the Spectrum had some issues with color clash, as some of you may know, but this is the kind of game where it does work despite that, because you basically don't run into the color clash as long as you program stuff correctly. I'm assuming volume levels are okay now, Rata. No, okay, if it's too loud I will change it. I can actually pause this game here. Now the problem is of course that I get the audio very loud, so it can take a bit before it updates, but we'll see. Is this better? I have a feeling this should be a lot better. Can't hear the game at all now, that's a bit too low. I was always searching a bit in these situations. And every console and home computer has their own levels, so... Like the arcade is very loud, but the VIC-20 for instance is very low. Interestingly, I never had this version back in the day on the Spectrum. And I must admit, it's actually not a bad version at all. It's not perfect, but then again, no home conversion ever will be. But within the limits of the system, they did a quite decent job. I really will want to look up at some point, see if I can find out who did the programming on this, because they did a decent job. Yeah, okay, but that's a bit of a different story, yeah? That's not a conversion as such. Okay, I hear something that I couldn't place. Because the transcode is basically, of course, the original game with some little translators, so you basically are running an emulator specifically for the game, more or less. Not completely true, but it's close to that. can't escape here. Well, I just noticed that Atari didn't make the error in this game that they made in, what was it? Was it C64 version where they repeated one of the bonuses? Here they did it correct. To give you some idea of how far behind my audio is, I only just now lost my life according to the audio. And now the intermission music starts. Now the intermission music, of course, some of you know, because we hear it quite a lot in my channel, because so many people decide to follow me. Which brings up something that I forgot to mention earlier. I realize I'm getting very close to 500 followers. Before the stream we were at 490. I will be doing something special for 500 followers, but that won't be in July or August, because work is just extremely busy, so I can't do anything extra this period. I will try to do something in September though, to celebrate the 500 followers, which I'm pretty sure we will reach rather soon, because at this moment, as I said, before the stream we were at 490 and there were a few followers today, so I'm not quite sure what I will be doing. Chances are, what I'm considering is doing a 12-hour stream. I'm actually gonna do this with joystick for a change, because I was playing with the keyboard. Ah, I didn't realize I could OPQA. I was using the 5, 6, 7 and 8. Wow, Teal wakes up. Welcome back, Teal. Yeah, there were a few oopses already in this game, in various versions of this game. I could, with a little add-on, but I'm actually using a modern USB controller. We'll get that one. Nope, no one catching that one yet. And it flees. What? I want more Pokemon. A Rapidash. Come on, Frodo. As you notice, they only put one intermission in here, not all of the ones from the arcade, but at least they put in an intermission, which they didn't do in all of the games. Why did you get robbed, Teal? Oops. No, BBC Micro never got an official port. There are some decent variations on it, but never an official. I'm just thinking, I think the ZX Spectrum was the only UK-based system actually that got an official port, if I remember correctly. Double checking, but as far as that I think they're only American and yeah, the rest are all American and Japanese systems. Ah, that happens. There's basically 3 minimum that it will try to catch. Oops. Yeah, that's standard. 3 basically get a chance. We got 2 more home computers. The one that does the redeem, if there's a redeem done to get it, that one will always be in that tree. And then basically 2 others. 8-bit, a K-file ATR. That's a K-file. Okay, now here I have to remember to press the right keys. I think it's just this one. It should start automatically, I hope. Yes. Okay, here we got the Atari 8-bit system, Atari 800 XL, 400 XL. Sorry, Atari 800 and 400, and you had 600 XL, 1200 XL later on. Once again, it's an Atari conversion. Probably because we usually don't have that many people playing it, Teal. So you normally don't notice it. Oops, missed one. Volume levels are quite a bit lower than on the Spectrum. Also, unlike the Spectrum, it doesn't use character cells, so... Probably yes. I do like the colors a bit better than on the C64 though. Still not perfect, but... not always. There are... I think I set it to 1.7, the catching factor, but not everything is always catched. God, why do I not get control suddenly? Okay, and suddenly it no longer reacts to controller. And now it does. Typical. Okay, something's wrong. Either with the game or with the controller. Let me try a different controller just in case, because I know there are... Well, no, let's first try again what happens. No, now it works. So it was something probably in the code that was wrong. Yeah, they made basically the mouth go too quick. Night, Pachako. Thank you for being here. Hope to see you again soon. Always nice to have you here. Ah, that's a problem. It's the slight deviation in the analog stick that it is a bit sensitive to. Okay, so stay away from the analog stick when playing in this version. Yeah, I know it's takes some work to keep that on track. I hope I said it to the right, because it takes a while before I hear it, of course. Okay, I can set it a bit higher. Let's see if I can at least finish this level. Yeah, but if we do that, Teal, we also do this. And we hope Wen will feel better soon. Wen wasn't feeling too well this week. But yes, if you do not follow either of them yet, please follow my friends and moderators, Teal and FT Wen. Both are great friends, great moderators, great musicians too, and fun to watch playing too. Thankfully, in the end, I decide that, Teal. Okay, we have one more home computer version. Now, so far, all the versions we've seen were Atari conversions. There's one home computer version that was not made by Atari, that I can show here. It's the MSX version. Exactly, Rata. And sometimes MSX does a bit weird. Let's see if it wants to do it now. MSX core sometimes is a bit flaky on starting up. Once it's running, it runs okay. And I have to go mute for a moment. Okay. Ratata. Now it doesn't announce again. Okay, as you can see, I tested this earlier. I'm afraid the bot is acting up a bit today, again. That sometimes happens. Yeah. I also tend to... I tend to be friendly, but sometimes people are a bit too much, you know? Notice the difference. Namco makes a home computer conversion and suddenly it's more or less the right way up. You had to limit a bit because of the resolution difference. There are all kinds of things still. I think the volume is a bit high on this one, huh? I hope I got the volume correct now. That still seems pretty high from what I see. So I'll bring it down a bit. Ah. Ah, come on. There we go. Yeah, the maze is rather small because of resolution, but it works quite well. The graphics look good. They got the colors quite good. The speed is okay. The Pac-Man works quite well. I like this version. I think of the home computer versions, this is probably the one I like most. Even with the smaller maze. Let's see if I can get through this. This will be difficult. But maybe. Nope. Ooh, maybe. Wow, I got away with that somehow. I don't know how I got away there. Charizard. graphics are a bit big, but it's quite playable actually this way. More so than you would expect maybe with the big graphics. Hi Wen! Welcome in. How are you feeling, my friend? So now you know what it takes to get Ren out of a lurk, a Charizard. Yeah, interestingly, you don't... Yeah, well, that was earlier today. I don't know how you're doing now. Unless I missed something, but... I'm glad to see you, Wen. Yeah, the bot is somewhat broken, I think, so... I wouldn't do any poke lures at the moment, if I were you. Oops. I was just gonna say, after this game I will see if I can restart the bot, if that makes a difference. See if we can get the professor back in, maybe. Yeah, the professor comes back in. That's nice, at least. Now we just have to wait for the configuration to go away. Let's hope it stays stable now. And for those who are interested, here's a super lure. I hope, yes. This is probably my favorite of the versions. As to who was it said, Kier, who feels claustrophobic, you don't notice as much as when you're playing. It's more, you notice it more when you're watching it, but when playing it doesn't feel as claustrophobic as it seems, maybe. Yeah, those were the home computer versions. Then of course there are the versions made for the various consoles. And let's get this one out of the way. Probably the worst conversion ever, of the official ones at least. This was an official Pac-Man conversion by Atari. It's still shocking to me that they actually dared sell this. Absolutely, Keros. It's so amazing. It's so incredibly bad. I know that feeling, Teal. at least score a few points, but yeah. I know the 2600 wasn't the easiest one to make graphics for because of the whole way it was made, but this is just ridiculous. And there is audio, it's just low, so I will put the volume up somewhat. I hope it's better now. What deal? What's confusing? Yeah, I'm not gonna put you through this anymore. There were also good, better conversions, thankfully. Yes, it's one you have to have if you are an Atari fan, but how they dare to sell it, I will never understand. Yeah, I need this one, the Atari soft one. Now this is what they did for the Intellivision. Not saying it's perfect. It's a whole lot better. Hi Al, how you doing? Haven't seen you in a while. I'm good. Having some fun with the various Pac-Man versions. More fun with some versions than others, of course. We just went for the very worst one conversion ever, official conversion. And then we went to the Intellivision system from about the same time. Which looks a lot better. So this is in the Mattel Intellivision. Oh, I could have gone to the left. Oh well. Oh, you're allowed to? Uh-oh. Did they put any restrictions on it, Teal, or are you just allowed to do anything? Yeah, was around the same time, exactly. Oh, when. You thought, let's do that so you don't have to see it, eh? Going the right way? No, the other way, of course. Ooh, chat disconnected. I hope the stream is still going. Yes, it is. I have 2 hats to choose from in the summer, yes. Let's see, what do we have next? Because we have a few left. Oh, yeah. Have a good night, Wen. Sleep well. And I hope you start feeling better soon, my friend. And see you tomorrow, probably. Or at least chat with you, hopefully. Bye for now. Now, what Atari did wrong on the 2600... Yeah, Twitch being buggy once again, as so often. They did a lot better on the 5200. We saw this already last week on my 5200 stream. Have a good night, Wen. Okay, now the bot acts correct again. Okay, this is 5200 version. We've seen that last week on my stream. Even though the 5200 wasn't that much better than the 2600, there were some differences, of course, but even so. Could be interesting, Rata, indeed, I agree. But it doesn't, so we have to make do without it. Check my phone, because I am on call today. Ah, no, it's nothing important. Okay. Just making sure that wasn't something important that came up, because I heard the tone from my work phone. I think the volume is a bit low on this one, eh? Oh no, it's okay. Of course, having the hat on now, my volumes are off. Ah, Tilcote Bonita. Yeah, this is the night version. I like playing this one. The famous or infamous joystick? There were a lot of mistakes made in the design of joysticks and joypads, etc. The 7800, for instance, also was not exactly famed for its joystick. Time out, Teal. Ugh, I can't make that one. Shall I lure then? Yeah, the Pro joystick was okay, but I'm not a big fan of it. Back in the day I had one specific joystick I really liked a lot. Yeah, there's a limited amount that that's allowed during a stream and per person during a stream. Ah, that was stupid. No, exactly. Now, when it comes to one-button joystick, I have a very specific preference. That is the... 1 second, because... the Suzo, the arcade. Exactly, Kierhus. That's such a fabulous stick. I have 2 of them still. And they are absolutely perfect for me when it comes to one single button joysticks. You can't break them. The original arcade. The Arcade Plus is a bit less actually, but the arcade is unbreakable. It was the one stick that I was never able to break, even playing joystick jugglers like, what's it called? Daley Thompson's Decathlon, etc. Okay, we have a few systems left. And I'm just double checking. Yes, they're all Nintendo systems. And we start with Nintendo NES. Yes, that's the one point, but thankfully they never broke me. But that's the one weak point, I agree. But the stick itself is absolutely perfect. Now, as already mentioned, there were a few versions of Pac-Man for the NES, but they were all the same. We got the Namco version and the Tengen version. They are exactly the same, those two. Apart from the start screen where the one says Tengen and the other says Namco. So we go to the Namco version. Doesn't really matter. It plays the same. And this reminds me a lot of the MSX version, which of course was also by Namco. I'm just... Do I have a pause? Yeah. I was checking the volume. Volume is a bit low, eh? Once again, the larger graphics because of the lower resolution, but it just works. Well, I'm sure you're a big boy, Teal, so you can do that by yourself, I'm sure. I have no idea what the audio levels are like. They look a bit low, but I may be wrong. Yeah, it plays quite good too. I don't have any audio at the moment, so it might be that something is disconnecting. Yeah, and yes, as you can see, it has a pretty decent version. I'm gonna forcibly reconnect this, because I'm assuming you hear audio, because I see audio coming by. I just don't hear it at the moment. Ah, there we go. Now I hear it. Okay. Yes, this is a very playable version. Yeah, I saw it coming. Whoops, timing is everything. Let's grab the hardest ones here. And now it's going to be interesting. Can we get this? Yes, we can. I have the USB hub going with it, and I have the digital board, this I/O board. Although I must admit I don't really use anything of the digital I/O board at the moment, but that's for some future uses that I have in mind. I want to be able to use some original controllers, and that's where the digital board, digital adapter comes in. But I'm connecting through HDMI. Well, basically, if you want a MiSTer and you will be using USB connected controllers, etc., then all you need is basically the DE10 Nano, and I would get the USB hub with it, because you can use your own powered USB hub, but it's just easier to combine the two in one case. Those two I would at least get. The only thing I basically use at the moment of the digital board are the buttons at the top. For if something hangs, there is a reset button, etc. But apart from that, I basically, you would be perfectly well off with just USB hub attached to it. Now, as mentioned, we have only some Nintendo systems going. And we start with the oldest one of the three, the GB, the Game Boy. And what was happening there? I have a feeling something's not right. Let's do a quick reboot of the MiSTer. Sometimes that happens when you have done a lot of different things. Understandable. Go for the Game Boy and we go for Pac-Man. Now this is not my favorite version of Pac-Man on here. Of course it's black and white, but that's, or grey, but that's not so much a problem. It's more that they made it scrolling in multiple directions, which takes some getting used to. Once again, within the limitations of the machine, it's not bad, but a bit loud again? Okay, I'll change the volume down a bit then. Exactly, it's scrolling, but in all directions. If it was just scrolling up and down, it wouldn't be too bad. But this is, yeah, I know it's a low resolution screen, so you have to do something. I think it's 176 by 176, if I remember correctly. But nah, it's far from my favorite one. Ah, came on after me. There you saw the issue, you don't see what happens on the other side of the screen. I'm not complaining about the graphics, because those actually look pretty decent. It's just the scrolling gets jarring after a while. Because where is, you know, where do I have to go? Oh, there's where I have to go. You missed the overview over the screen. Exactly. The playing speed and the graphics are all fine, but it's that scrolling is just too irritating. Oh, that was the last one, I wasn't sure. Now, as you will have noticed, I've only gone for original Pac-Man games. Of course, there are various later versions that are also official. There's 3D Pac-Mans, etc. that came out later, but I decided for today to concentrate on the original Pac-Man. And as you saw, that gave us enough to watch already. That was a bit too dangerous there. Because I love, for instance, Pac-Mania on certain versions. The Amiga version, for instance, is quite good. But apart from the arcade version, there was a total of 15 conversions here, so I thought that was enough to check. Yeah, it does. It looks good, but the scrolling, it doesn't make for a fun way to play most of the time. It just, as mentioned, it's just been up and down scrolling, and we will see that later on for a version. In our very last version, that's an option. The scrolling just breaks it. Because the graphics just look good, the map is good. And the speed of movement is also good. It does that scrolling quite quick too, but yeah, that was stupid. Okay, we go for the Game Boy Color version. Which is mostly the same game, of course, but specifically in color. The Special Color Edition. We can play Pac-Attack, we go for Pac-Man, of course, as mentioned. And they did the same thing. It's the same version, just with the colors set up. And once again, the graphics look fabulous. The colors are correct. Mostly at least. The Ghost looks good. These are actually the Ghost versions which I based my emotes on. Bummer. Might as well just complete it. Yeah, it is complete. I never know if I have completed the map until I have, because I cannot see if everything is gone now. And given that this is the Namco conversion, I'm assuming that the patterns are pretty much the same as the arcade version. So for someone who's really used to the arcade versions, they might be able to play this perfectly. But for me, it's, yeah, just a bit much with the scrolling. As mentioned, this was there's only one game we will be looking at after this, the Game Boy Advance version. Of course, the Game Boy Advance was indeed quite an advance compared to the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy. And you will see that they solved the issue with scrolling a lot better there. And by the way, if anyone wants to play these old NES and Game Boy versions, etc., quite a few of them, especially the NES version, were converted in packages for modern systems. You can of course do the NES version. I think it's available on the Switch online, for instance. I know there was a version for PlayStation 3, I think, and Xbox, also based on the NES version, for instance, in one of the packages. Well, for some of those, of course, there's the original arcade version also available. Those things I can't do on the MiSTer, of course, but if anyone were interested in that and playing those old versions, they are available for modern systems. And of course, for the Switch nowadays, there's also Pac-Man 99, which is quite a different game, but also fun. Hey, Pota, thank you. Yes, that was redeemed by my friend and moderator Ren. In wintertime, I have a penguin onesie, and in summertime I have a penguin hat and a what do you call it? A polar bear hat. And yes, I know they don't live in the same part of the world. But they're both white, more or less. But yeah, this was the Game Boy Color version. And as mentioned, as the last one, we're going to look at the Game Boy Advance version. Now, they did it a bit different in this one. There isn't a separate Pac-Man game available, but they have the Pac-Man collection. Ah, Firo, okay. And in the Pac-Man collection, they put a version of the original Pac-Man. Pac-Man Arrangement is a different version, but the original Pac-Man, you can play this in two versions. I'll start with the full screen version actually. You can do the full screen version, which looks like this. Which plays pretty good. It's a bit low resolution graphics, but and I'm looking at the volumes. It might be a bit low volume, maybe not. Not sure. Yeah, the volume seems a bit low, huh? Let's pause this. Yep. And let's see if this helps. Looks better. I have to go by look as mentioned, because for some reason audio is really behind for me. I think this is better, right? The audio now. Hi, Extra Live NL. Welcome in. How you doing? You just catch us on the last version of Pac-Man we're looking at today. The version for the Game Boy Advance. Apart from the arcade, 15 different conversions. Yeah, when you came in, I was on my second or third conversion, I think. Was it the C64 or was it the VIC-20 still? That was the first one, actually. Yeah, total including the arcade 16 versions. Yeah, that was the first one, so yeah, you've seen them all. Lately, usually on the Thursday, I try to do a stream with the first year of a certain system. So games from the first year the system came out, the first 2 years. But there was an issue this week at work, which meant that I didn't have time to prepare anything. And this was easier to prepare than doing a first year off stream. Because for this one I only needed to download 2 versions, the Ibm Pc and the Texas Instruments version I didn't have yet. The rest I all had available already. I'm not the best player either, but I can hold my own for a bit at least. This is irritating. Can I get away with this? Yes. I know people who are way better at this. But yeah, for these comparisons streams, you have to at least have some competence in the game to compare. That's why my first comparison stream was Manic Miner, one of my all-time favorite platform games. And my second was Frogger, which took a lot more time to prepare than this Pac-Man stream actually. And now we're doing Pac-Man. No, this stinks. Yeah, you can also do some settings here, but what I was looking for was the main menu. Because this was the full screen version, but they did a scrolly version of Pac-Man in this one too. But in this one, they did it correctly. As you will see. It only scrolls vertically. Which makes it a lot more playable than that version we saw for the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. Oops. Okay, I still die, but that's normal. Haha, welcome in, Zika Bjorn. I did look just in case to make sure it was you, but I was 99% sure it would be you. How are you doing, mate? It's a thing by now, eh? Oops. You just catch me on the very last game we are checking today. After this, we have had 16 versions of Pac-Man. I'm sure most of the viewers are fed up with the noises by now. But yes, of the portable version, okay, of course the Game Boy Advance is a more well, the name already says it, but it's a more advanced system than the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color, but they actually did it correct here, giving you the option to do full screen or the scrolling version, but only scrolling vertically. Get away from me, stupid ghosts. The only ghosts I want to see are my emotes. No. But I will do one more thing because some people exactly came in with a raid when I was just looking at the VIC-20 version. So you've seen all the versions I played apart from one, of course. And that's the original. We'll have a quick look again at the arcade version. The version as put out in America, so the Midway version. This was what started it all. Oh, that was the wrong direction, Frodo. I want to go up. Waka 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 waka. Indeed it is, Rata. But it also shows you how close, especially the scrolling version of the GBA version was. My favorite? Well, basically the arcade version, of course. That is the real version. When it comes to home computer conversions, I probably like the MSX version most, even though it's a bit of a small maze. The Apple II version comes close. When it comes to console conversions, probably the GBA. Oops, sorry. And I don't have a pause here for some reason. Oh no, of course, it's the arcade version. I'm not playing the... Yeah, arcade is always very loud. I hope it's better now. Might be a bit too low, but okay. Now, as I said, I prefer the arcade version. When it comes to conversions for home computer, I prefer the MSX version. Even though the map is a bit small. And for console version, the GBA version. In scrolling version, actually, so scrolling vertically. I'm assuming you were able to hear it better now, Rata, eh? I must admit though, the Pac-Man game I play most these days is Pac-Man 99. But that's just a nice little time fill, you know. I can't make that. Oh, come on. I want that strawberry. Ah, it went to Denmark this time. A pincer, okay. Since you did the redeem, Martha, you actually don't have to do the catch, but I also do it myself all the time. Ah! Just half a second late. And I guess with that, we'll end the stream. Let me just double check. Yeah, I had this on for over 30 minutes. I'm still hearing the sound from the game. As I mentioned, it's a bit late. Let's see. I need to thank a few people. Thank you, Rata. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Let me have a look. Where did we start? First of all, we had a follow from King Wagman. Thank you. Then, of course, we had a raid by MiSTer_DK. Thank you for that. And follows from K Indiana and Pixel Shooter. Thank you all. And of course, I need to thank everyone who's been in here today, who joined in the chat, all the lurkers. Because I know I really enjoyed this today. It was a lot of fun. It was a bit ad hoc. Wasn't planned this way, but I thought, Pac-Man is easy enough to arrange, and thankfully it works. We then, of course, have to search for someone to raid. And that's always interesting at the end of a stream. Yeah, there's quite a few good ones, but there's also a few really bad ones. And of course, the very worst one was the 2600 version. Let's have a quick look. I think I have someone to raid, but depends a bit on what exactly they are streaming right now. Not a lot at the moment. Okay, that's... Sure. Wow, my sound is really far behind. I'm still hearing the game going, even though it's no longer going. First one I want to go to is not an option. So let's have a look if we find someone random in the retro category. The board game is actually fun, I must admit. It's been a while since I played it, but I did play it at one point, and it was actually fun. It's getting harder and harder to find a good rate with retro these days, because there's all these 24/7 speedrun channels at the moment that are all run by the same people, basically. And that's not what we're looking for here, eh? Those channels are nice, but no. If you have any suggestions for a rate, feel free to drop them in. Yeah, I know. Mike is nice, but let's see. He's doing Sonic Heroes. Actually, yes, that's not too bad an idea, maybe. Let me see. How long has he been going? It's a charity thing, eh? How long is he going for? 12 hours or something? Okay, so he has another hour to go. Yeah, let's go to Mike then. I completely forgot that he was doing a charity thing today. Mike is a friend of ours, and he is doing Charity Heroes, a charity stream. Mostly playing Sonic Heroes. Yeah, let's go to Mike. I completely forgot he was doing his stream today. Thanks for the reminder, Rata. I always have to make sure that I type it correctly. AJWT, yeah, it's that order. Why am I not typing in the right place? Okay, once again, thank you all for being here. For those who are subscribing, please use the first rate message, otherwise use the second one if it wants to come up. Did I hit it? Nope. Should be okay now. I hope to all see you soon. I'll be back on Saturday with random retro games and audience suggestions. Plus, as always on Saturday, I end with Pokemon Emerald. Sunday, it's time for golf with your friends. And next Tuesday is back to Pokemon Sword, when we will be taking on the current champion, trying to take over as champion. Once again, thank you all, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.